One area that is fairly unique to the federal system is the federal grand jury. The federal grand jury, a lot of folks frankly don't understand from a fundamental standpoint, but it is literally in the Constitution. It's one of the few things that is in the Constitution, which is the right or the need for an individual to be indicted by a grand jury in order to be charged with a crime. In South Carolina, federal grand juries sit in 4 different locations: Charleston, Columbia, Greenville, and Florence, and they meet 4 to 5 times a month. A grand jury consists of 23 individuals, and it requires a certain number of them to be present, 16, and a certain number of quorum to vote to true bill an indictment or a proposed charge. Now, grand juries do something that is also fairly unique compared to state courts, which is they issue grand jury subpoenas for either materials, documents, or they can call witnesses to the grand jury to further investigations. So sometimes individuals being investigated will hear about a grand jury subpoena, a request to a business or to a individual to produce documents, and that's an indication that there's an active federal investigation going on. Federal agents and federal prosecutors use that subpoena power to compel information that otherwise could not be obtained voluntarily or sometimes readily. Information is presented to the grand jury by federal prosecutors. Individuals being investigated do not have a right to be in the grand jury or a right to present testimony or information to the grand jury. Sometimes prosecutors will give an individual an opportunity to do that, but there's no right for an individual or a person being charged to be there with the grand jury. There's no right for their lawyers to be there with the grand jury or to present any kind of arguments to the grand jury. Federal grand juries make findings based upon probable cause. That is, reason to believe an individual committed a crime and reason to believe that a crime occurred. Once an indictment is found to be sufficient to establish probable cause, it is true billed. Once it is true billed, it is returned by the grand jury foreperson to the magistrate court judge. And once that indictment has been returned to the magistrate judge, then process is issued in the form of a summons or an arrest warrant to inform the person who has been charged of their charges. And obviously, if it's an arrest warrant, they are arrested and brought before the court to be informed. And a summons is a letter that tells someone that they need to be present. If you have received a grand jury subpoena, it's important to comply. That's usually businesses or individuals. We counsel folks all the time and help them to be prepared and fully compliant with grand jury subpoenas. If you receive one, please let us know. We are more than happy to help and to make sure it gets complied with. If you believe you may be the target of a grand jury investigation and that those materials are being gathered to be used against you, please let us know that. We can help you with that. We can reach out to investigators. We can reach out to prosecutors and try to get ahead of that investigation and maybe make it so that you don't get charged. If you have any questions about that, about the grand jury process, about grand jury subpoenas, please call us. We're happy to sit down and talk anytime. Our phone number is 843-473-7000, and we'll sit down and consult with anyone for free and help as much as we can.